Hey guys, welcome back to Many Tribes, One Kingdom. It's your buddy John, and I am joined by my lovely wife.
Hello. I'm Destiny. You've seen me on here a couple times.
And if you haven't, then this is my wife Destiny.
Yep, hello.
And so, at the time of recording, it is April 12th. Our anniversary is April 13th. So we will have been married 1 year tomorrow. Still not sure how I tricked you into agreeing to that. And we figured, because obviously relationships are very important to us, that we wanted to come on here and talk about 10 pieces of advice that we would give to someone who is either looking to get married or even planning to get married right now. So these are 10 pieces of advice. If you don't know, both Destiny and I are Christian, so this comes from a Christian perspective. However, I do say that you don't necessarily have to be a Christian for these to work for you.
Yeah.
Of course. But before you go ahead and click off the video, just understand I'm not here to preach to you. I've got plenty of other videos where I will preach to you, and I'll gladly leave a link to one of them in the description of this video if you'd like to hear me preach to you. But this is talking about marriage and relationships. And don't worry, for my Christian friends, this is all coming from a Christian perspective, and I'm not leaving God out, don't worry. Also, if you don't know, Destiny and I are expecting our first child within the next few months, and we have set up a registry for her. It's a baby girl, if you don't know. So I'll leave a link to that in the description if you'd like to contribute. We'd be very gracious, very happy to receive anything that you'd be willing to help us out with. Anything else you can think of before we get started?
Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Oh yeah, yes, subscribe. All right, you ready?
Yep.
So these are just 10 pieces of advice. I'm gonna read one of them off, then we're gonna discuss it a little bit, and then move to the next one.
Yeah.
So, first thing first, date a friend. You want to start, or you want me to start?
Yeah, because dating a friend, it's not, not only should you date a friend, but if you are interested in somebody, get to know them first.
Yes, that's a crucial thing. Destiny and I both reject the idea of love at first sight. We knew each other for, we knew each other for 10 years before we started our relationship.
Yeah.
And there were ups and downs in those 10 years. Couldn't stand each other at first. Still not sure why she puts up with me. But yeah, if you want to build a long-lasting relationship with someone, you need to have a foundation with them. And the best way to have that foundation is to get to know them before you start dating them, before you start a relationship with them. So guys, talking to you men out there, if you want to marry a woman, if you want to have a wife and children one day, then start by making some female friends. Now, of course, don't hear what I'm not saying. Don't be running around making friends just to start relationships with people.
No.
But what I'm saying is that don't just see someone and randomly ask them out. Get to know them as a person, as a friend, because the purpose of dating should always be to get married eventually, to find someone to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah, don't just date to date.
No. Of course, if you are just dating to date, this is the wrong video for you, friend.
Women, same thing for you.
Yeah.
Try to have at least a couple close male friends that you're already...
I mean, you don't even have to have a couple. Just, if you want to build a relationship in the future, make friends first. Yeah. That's what we're saying here, because so often these people who start by, they just go out and they have like blind dates, and I'm not trying to criticize that stuff. I'm sure it does work at times, but typically it doesn't. And it's much better if you build the relationship yourself with another person as a friend.
Yeah.
And I know you may be thinking, well, I don't want to start a relationship with a friend because I'm afraid that if it doesn't work, I'll lose that friend.
Which is understandable.
It's an understandable fear. However, what I want to say is this. Once you get married, your friendships with people of the opposite gender are going to have to be limited anyway.
Yeah.
I've got female friends, of course, but I am never going anywhere without Destiny
Same.
with them.
Same. I've got male friends.
Yeah. You know,
Like,
I'm not
across the state, but still.
I'm not gonna go hang out with any of my female friends without Destiny. I'm not gonna come home and be like, oh, Des, I'm going out to the movies with, someone.
So-and-so.
I'm not gonna say anyone's names.
Yeah.
I can't think of any fake names right now, so I'm not. But like, I'm not gonna come home and be like, Des, I'm gonna go spend time with this person without you. Bye.
Yeah.
No, that's not appropriate. So, realistically, if you're thinking, well, I don't want to start a relationship with this person because it might end anyway, it might end, and that might ruin the friendship. The fact of the matter is, the friendship is probably going to, I don't want to say go away, but it's going to be drawn back some
Yeah.
once you do eventually find someone. Hello, Tessa. We got our cat down here bothering me.
Yeah. She's meowing away.
Yeah. You probably hear her. They hear her in the background all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, piece of advice number 1, date a friend.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add to that, or you think we're good on that one?
I think we're good.
All right. So the next piece of advice, you just want me to read all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Have the critical conversations early in the relationship. Let me take the lead on this one. So if you are going to get married, which again, you shouldn't be dating a person if you're not planning to marry them. If you're going to get married, then you need to have those critical conversations early. And what do I mean by critical conversations? What I mean by that is, for instance, you need to have serious discussions about, I'll give you a great example. Do you want kids? Yes or no? Because you shouldn't go into a relationship with the idea of, oh, I can change them. I know they don't want kids, but I do, and I'll make them want kids later on down the road. No, you need to have that conversation before the relationship starts. And as Christians, of course, we know that Paul tells us not to be, I'm sorry, I know I said I wasn't going to preach to you, but I have to preach just a little. But Paul tells us not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. And what that means is, as Christians, you shouldn't marry an unbeliever. Now, let me pause you real quick, because if you are already married to an unbeliever, you're not supposed to leave them, okay? So don't divorce your husband or wife if they're an unbeliever and you're a believer.
Yeah.
But if you are a Christian, you shouldn't start a relationship with a non-Christian. And why is that? Because that can cause a lot of problems down the road. I heard people do what they call evangelistic dating. Mm-hmm. And it's this idea that you date someone who's not a Christian, and through your relationship, they become one. That is a very terrible idea. I'm talking a lot. Go ahead and say something.
I mean, if they're interested in it, like I was, because I had questions when we started talking, like,
as
friends in
friends.
2021.
Yeah.
And that's different.
That is very different, because we didn't start our relationship until after you were saved, until after you knew Jesus personally.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't do it for me. You did it for you.
Yeah.
And that's a crucial thing. So, but you need to have these critical conversations very early on, not just about religion, but that's a very important one, but also about politics, about, how you believe things should go and stuff. Because the fact of the matter is, this whole idea of opposites attract, it's not true.
No.
Like, it might be that opposites attract for a moment, but if you want to build a permanent, long-lasting, firm foundation relationship, then you need to be with someone that you can get along with, that you, not necessarily that you agree with everything on. Des and I have different interests and stuff. I'm a huge fantasy nerd.
Yeah.
She loves professional wrestling.
Yeah.
We'll watch it with each other.
Yeah.
But, I'm not as much into professional wrestling as she is.
I'm not as into
Lord of the Rings and Star Wars as I am. Yeah. I'm the nerd.
He collects swords.
She collects wrestling figures.
Yeah.
These are small differences that it's fine.
He watches shows that I don't.
Yeah. She watches stuff that I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'll only watch wrestling with her typically during pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Hi, Tessa.
And it's okay to like different stuff.
Yes, of course.
Really.
But not when it's major aspects of your life. For instance, if you are a very conservative person, starting a relationship with someone who's very liberal is a very bad idea. Yeah. And vice versa. Because, for instance, what happens if the abortion issue comes up? Which I'll make a whole separate video about that. But what happens if that issue comes up?
That's going to be a big issue.
Or, again, going back to the children one. What if you want kids? What if Destiny had wanted kids, but I didn't?
Yeah, that would have been a big issue.
It would have been. We both, early on in our relationship, we said, we need to have these conversations. You know, I made it a point. We were together for maybe a month when we started having the kids talk.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't because we were rushing things.
No.
But it was because we were like, I was like, I need to make sure she's on the same page as me here. And if she's not, then I can't be doing this.
Yeah, like, we'd spend hours.
Talking.
Night after night talking about this stuff.
Yeah, because we wanted to see where the other was. You know, these critical conversations, people will tell you, oh, that's rushing it, or you don't want to do that stuff too early because you might scare the person off. No, you need to do that stuff early because you don't want to waste your time.
Now, sometimes, when it comes to, like, kids and stuff, you know, if you both want them and you agree on the same methods of raising them, some things will and can change. You are going to make mistakes.
Yes. You know, we agreed on how we want to raise our children, but we're not deluding ourselves here. We know we're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Sorry, little Trinity. Let me go ahead and apologize to you now before
sorry,
Dad screws you up anymore. But, you know, again, you need to have these critical conversations before you go too deep into the relationship. Because what happens if you're 4 years into a relationship, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Yeah. But what happens if you're 4 or 5 years into the relationship and you want kids, the other person doesn't, and you're finally like, okay, let's have kids, and the other person's like, I don't want kids. You know, you've sunk 4 years of your life. And I'm not criticizing people who don't want kids. Oh, hey, Ezra.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not for everybody.
It's not. Oh, yeah, you're not Ezra. You're Tessa. You know, there are some people who just are like, I wouldn't be a good parent, and so they make the decision, and you know, stuff like that, without killing the child, of course.
Yeah.
That's another issue, as I said, which I will discuss at a later date.
Yeah.
But you need to have these relationship conversations, what I call critical conversations, early in the relationship. And if you don't, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Dating's not all about just having fun and, you know, doing activities. It's about deciding, is this person compatible with me? Can I build a future with them? And if you followed our first piece of advice, you should already have a friendship with them. But now you really need to get into the meat of it.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, I know people who 100% absolutely will not live in a rural area. They will not do it. They will refuse to live in a rural area. Now, me, I'd prefer to live in a rural area. Of course, because of my blindness, I can't.
Yeah.
With public transportation until they invent the self-driving car. Elon Musk, if you see this video, please get on that.
Yeah, please get that out there sooner and make it affordable.
But anyway, my point is, you know, that can be a deal breaker for some people. Living in the country or living in the city or living in certain cities can be a deal breaker for some people. You need to know that stuff early on.
Yeah.
So you think we covered all this one? I know I talked more than you on this one. Sorry.
I think it's
good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to say a lot on that one because that one I'm very passionate about. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. This one's one of the ones you wrote down, so I'll let you take the lead. Number 3.
This kind of goes...
You want me to read it first before you say something?
Yeah. I don't know.
My wife, everybody, isn't she wonderful? All right. Piece of advice number 3. Don't drag it out.
Yeah, this goes a lot along with the other one because, like we said, you know, if you waste a lot of time dragging this stuff out and make these decisions afterwards, it's not going to work. Also, you need to, well, I'm not saying you need to, but it's highly advised that you figure out if you want to marry this person within at least a year. Maybe 2.
Maybe 2, yeah. Like, I know some people who say, oh, no, you can't know until, like, 3 to 5 years in. I'm like, are you crazy?
If you already know the person, then
like,
why?
You should already know the person, as we said before. You know,
Yeah.
I knew Destiny. You want to know how long I waited before I proposed to Destiny? 10.5 months.
Yep. We started dating back in October of
2022. And I
he
proposed
in August of 2023.
Yep, tail end of August, about to be the beginning of September of 2023. That was
Yeah.
her birthday present.
Yeah.
Which was more of a gift to me, now that I think about it.
Oh.
Getting you to agree to marry me was more of a gift to me, though, wasn't it? Like, what?
I guess. I don't know.
Still not sure how I tricked you. Anyway, but as Des said, you should know quickly if you want to be in the relationship and if you don't. And if you don't, I'm not here to shame you or anything. End the relationship. Don't drag it out. Don't say, "Oh, let me wait until they're in a better position," or, don't have a savior complex either. Now, let me add that to this whole don't drag it out. Don't have a savior complex.
Yeah, don't think that you can fix their problems.
Yeah, we'll get to that one later because that's kind of on some of the other pieces of advice we got here. But as Des said, don't drag it out. Don't, if you know you want to marry the person, then you should be moving to that next step. If you don't want to marry them, then you shouldn't. You shouldn't even be with them.
Yeah.
You want to add anything else to that? That one's pretty straightforward, right?
Good. Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. All right, ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right, piece of advice number 4. Be transparent. Let me take the lead on this. There should be no secrets between you and your spouse or you and someone you want to marry. And what I mean by that is this. If you have something that you don't want to tell them because, they might leave me, or I don't want them to know that about me, that's a problem. You need to be 100% honest with your spouse. If you love them, if you care about them, it doesn't matter what it is, you need to tell them.
Yeah.
And of course, as a Christian, I believe in forgiveness and second chances. But you can't give someone a second chance if they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't want to hide that stuff because that stuff eventually comes out. It always does.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does come out and they find out about it on their own, or let me give you another example. You shouldn't keep secrets from your spouse. If you have secret friends that you want to keep away from your spouse, like, I know they wouldn't be okay with me, or they wouldn't be happy if they found me talking to this person, that's a problem. Now, let me pause real fast and say that this advice is for people in healthy relationships. If you are in an abusive relationship, this is not the video for you. I'm just going to say that right now. There are people who can help you. I'm not one of them, unfortunately, but there are people who can help you. So please get help for yourself. Don't stay in abusive relationships. This advice here about keeping no secrets, about being transparent, is for people in healthy, functional relationships, okay?
Yeah.
But like, for instance, Destiny and I, we have what we call an open phone policy.
Yeah.
She knows the passcode to my phone. I know the passcode to her phone.
Yeah.
One of us could come up right away and ask the other one to unlock their phone, and we would. And not because we don't trust each other, but because we completely trust each other. I have nothing to hide from Destiny. In fact, half the time we'll pass each other our phones and ask the other one to do something.
Yeah, he's a faster typer than me, so
sometimes you'll ask me to reply to someone for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll hand Des my phone while I'm on the phone with people. Like if I want to get something out of the fridge or make coffee or something, I'll hand her the phone and be like, "Hey, can you hold on to this for me?"
Yeah.
We have no secrets between each other. The only time we keep secrets is when it comes to getting each other gifts.
Yeah.
For Christmas or each other's birthdays and stuff. That's an okay secret to have. I will say that. But everything else, you should be transparent with your spouse.
I should probably bring this up too.
Mm-hmm.
So the only time that should even maybe apply is if one of you is seeing a therapist or both of you.
Well, yeah, because that's confidential stuff. I go to therapy, and I'll talk to Des about my therapy appointments.
Yeah,
but she doesn't prod about them. She respects my privacy.
Yeah, if there's stuff that you just don't want to discuss with your spouse that you talked about in therapy, then don't pry into that.
No. But if it's something where they're keeping a secret from you about their past or about something they did or about where they're going or who they're seeing and stuff, that's a problem. That's not okay. If you love your spouse, men, if you love your wives, you'll tell them everything. Women, if you love your husbands, you'll tell them everything.
Yep.
You don't keep secrets between you two. That's... Honestly, if I had to narrow it down to just a couple of things off of our list of 10, that is definitely one of the pieces of advice I would keep is do not keep secrets.
No.
Tell your spouse the truth. If you do something that you know you shouldn't, I guess we gotta talk about stuff like affairs and stuff. If you have one, or you start one, or you try to start one, or anything like that, you should tell them right away.
Yeah.
If you love them, if you respect them at all, if you ever cared about them, you'll tell them.
Yeah.
Had to get very serious there for a second.
Well,
What happened to the lighthearted fun we were having a minute ago?
well, I mean,
It's a serious
sometimes
topic.
This happens, yeah.
It does. So, as we said, be transparent. Tell them everything. Don't have things that you hide from them, like a second phone where you hide who you're calling, or a secret email address, or anything like that. If you're doing that stuff and it's not for work reasons, you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
Again, this doesn't apply if you're suffering from abuse. I want to make that very clear. If you're suffering from abuse and you keep a second phone so you can escape,
Yeah, that's
that's
acceptable.
yeah. Tessa, get away from the camera.
Tessa wants to be on camera.
No, she wants to scratch at the camera.
Tessa, go play.
But other than that, if you're in a healthy relationship, no secrets.
No.
Nope. Zilcho.
I think we covered that one
I
pretty
think
well.
I think we did. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. Piece of advice number 5. Moving right along here. Go to counseling before you get married. I am so grateful that our church had us do premarital counseling.
Yeah.
And why? Because so many people think of counseling as something you do when your marriage is in trouble. No.
You gotta get this stuff worked out beforehand so
Mm-hmm.
you can prepare for these issues.
And honestly, there was stuff that Pradeep talked to us about in counseling. Our pastor did our counseling, but
Yeah.
Go to a pastor or a marriage counselor before you before you get married, because there was things that Pradeep brought up that we didn't even think of.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that, because I'm like, yeah, and it helped us to prepare for the difficult things that we had to deal with. And if you're uncomfortable having that conversation, then you're not ready to get married.
Yeah.
You said something. I was talking for a while.
Okay, really?
Sorry.
Yeah, marriage counseling's something that you just shouldn't do after you get married, because if you think it's gonna fix your problems,
Once they've started,
it's not.
no. It's something you do beforehand when everything's good.
Yeah. Which I guess, I don't know, should we bring up the aspect of like the fighting issues or the
That's another
issues?
one. That's another piece of advice we have later down the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't worry.
I'm gonna hear myself.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. All right, ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right, you're taking the lead on this next one because it was yours. Piece of advice number 6: wait for sex. Have fun.
Okay.
Yes, we have to have the sex talk.
Yeah, we have to.
If you listen, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. If you cannot have this talk, you're not ready to get married.
No.
If the idea of having the talk, like having a sex talk with a person you plan to marry, makes you uncomfortable, then you shouldn't be getting married. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because, what happens if you're dating someone and you have sex with the person and then you break it off with the person? Well,
That can damage
that
you.
can damage both of you.
Yeah. We live in a society that idolizes sex.
Yeah, too
And,
much.
people look down on people who wait, but waiting is a good thing.
Here's the thing, sex is not bad. It's
No.
how you use it.
I always say God gives us gifts, but humans are the ones who mess them up. And that's the truth. Like, as Christians, sex is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. It's a gift from God.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we should just use it whenever or however we want.
No, it's
We
like,
wait for the proper confines of marriage.
oh, I'm bored. I'm done with this person. Moving on to the next person.
And that's the thing.
There's way too much of that today.
Sex isn't about physical pleasure. It should be about love. It should be about connecting with a person that you want to spend your life with.
I mean, okay, the physical pleasure, not like in
That's not the
in
main
marriage.
reason.
It's okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, that's not the main reason to do it.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah. Sex is not the end all be all of a marriage.
No. And so, if you want to prove that whether someone actually cares about you, here's a test you do. Make them wait for sex before
Yeah.
you get married.
Yeah.
Like, listen to me, men and women out there, you are worth so much more than that other person gives you credit for. If they can't wait until after you're married to have sex, then they don't value you as much as you should be valued.
Yeah,
You are valuable.
into the relationship.
Yeah, like, you know, I've seen a lot of times where women are pressured by men, especially younger women, are pressured by men into sex and stuff. Don't let them do that to you. You are not an object. You are a valuable person. You are someone made in the image of God. Again, I know I said I wouldn't preach to you, but I have to a little. You are someone made in the image of God. You have value to God. And so don't let someone treat you any less.
And this doesn't just apply to men, it applies to women too.
Yes.
Do not pressure him into having sex.
Yes. And of course, sex in a marriage is fine, but
Yeah.
there are still rules and stipulations within a marriage. You know, no still means no, even when you're married.
Yep.
Now, Paul tells us that husbands and wives shouldn't deny each other for long periods of time. If they want to fast from sex by mutual agreement so they can pray harder or spend more time with God, that's perfectly acceptable. Or
Yeah.
for medical reasons or something along those lines, then that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
But sex is not a weapon. It's not it's not a reward. It's an expression of your love for another person. And here's what I'll tell you. If that other person loves you, they can wait until you're married.
And you shouldn't use sex to save your marriage either.
No, you shouldn't. And you shouldn't use it to save a relationship either. Like, if you think, oh, they're going to break up with me if I don't have sex with them, then let them break up with you.
That's too much. That's society
Because they don't-
putting stuff on that.
They don't deserve you. But
Society encourages that too.
Yeah, I will say this. Most of society's issues today, most of the issues of the world today in our generation comes from the fact that sex is not given its proper place, that premarital sex is so rampant.
Yeah.
You know, the increased number of sexually transmitted diseases and unplanned or unwanted pregnancies or emotional trauma that comes from getting intimate with someone who then turns out didn't care about you and they leave you.
Now, and that's not. And I had to.
Go ahead.
I had to bring this up.
Go ahead.
If it is non-consensual.
Okay, that is not what we're here to talk about.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
I know.
I don't want people to feel like they're victims of that.
Oh, no. That's not on you. That is
Yeah.
not on you at
No.
all. You know, if you didn't consent.
I just figured I'd bring that up
No.
because I don't want to exclude
No,
anybody.
I know. But yeah, that is
Another topic for another time.
Another topic for another time. I do plan to make a
Sorry.
video eventually discussing it. It's just that I'm trying to prepare better for that because I want to make sure I do that topic the justice it deserves.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that eventually you'll hear from me about that, but not right now.
Yeah.
But my point is, wait for sex, because you never know. I'll be honest, and I hope I don't make my wife uncomfortable by telling her this. Well, she already knows it, but I hope I don't make her uncomfortable by bringing it up. There was a time before Destiny when I was seeing someone else, and I thought, I'm going to marry this person.
Yeah.
So in a situation like that, many people think, oh, well, I'm going to marry this person anyway, so it's okay to go ahead and have sex with them. You know what? Me and this person broke up. And I am just so grateful to God that nothing happened between me and them.
Yeah.
Because that is something that that is regret that I would carry for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that the only woman I've been with physically, intimately, is Destiny.
Yeah. Same.
Because, I'm a woman now?
No, because I didn't.
I know.
Because I was in a previous relationship and it didn't go anywhere, and I'm glad I didn't take it further.
Yeah. So, please wait. And if it does work out, if the relationship does work out, there's no rush.
No.
You're gonna have the rest of your life with this person anyway, so please wait. Don't introduce sex and make things complicated. Keep things simple when you're dating.
Yeah.
You're trying to decide if you're going to marry this person and spend your life with them.
Yeah.
And for the people who are typing and saying, oh, well, I have to have sex with them before I get married, I have to know whether... No. No. If that's a determining factor for you, you shouldn't be getting married.
No, you need to focus on having these discussions like we talked about and getting to know each other's lifestyles and
as a person, sex is not a deciding factor to get married. And also, if you're getting married just so you can have sex, because there are people who make the decision to wait until marriage, but they rush to marriage so they can have sex, that's bad too.
That's the wrong reason too.
Yeah. I was like that when I was younger. I wanted to rush to getting married because I was like, yeah, I want to, I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to know that about
Okay,
me.
let's move on.
Yeah, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right, this is also one of yours, so you can take the lead. Prepare for disagreements.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. We've both seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, a lot of people have.
Everyone
Where
has.
people will scream at each other, have, fights that lead to
Stuff.
bad stuff.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be, it's not necessary.
Well, and this goes back to the counseling thing.
Yeah.
Like, one thing we learned was how, I will say this. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. I'll say this. Destiny and I didn't have our first really bad disagreement until after we got married.
Yeah.
And it was because of our counseling that we were able to navigate it. And one thing I will tell you when you prepare for disagreements, because there's a couple of things I want to add to this. One, don't bring other people into it.
Mm-mm.
Again, abusive relationships are not being discussed here.
Yeah.
So if you're being abused and you bring other people into it to help you, that is not
different.
a problem. That is what you're supposed to do. I'm talking about like when me and Destiny have had our issues with each other. I don't run and text my brother and be like, oh, you'll never guess what Destiny's doing. She doesn't run and text her mom and be like, oh, John's doing this and I don't like it.
Mm-mm.
She doesn't tell my mother-in-law on me.
No.
Which is great because my mother-in-law is scary.
We don't.
I love you, Mama.
It's unnecessary to drag these people into these conversations.
Yes. Because it is a discussion between the two of you.
Yeah.
Another thing that I will tell you when it comes to disagreements or fighting, never, no matter who you are, men, you never lay your hands on your wife. Women, you never lay your hands on your husband unless it's in self-defense. I knew what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
And like me and Des, we'll play fight. Like I'll walk up and I'll flick her on the arm or I'll bop her on her head, and she'll do the same to me. Like she'll come up and poke me.
I'll playfully just do
ow.
that.
Yeah.
But
that's different.
That's different.
We never put our hands on each other in the time of a fight because regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, that's abuse.
Yeah.
I want to say this right now. Men, if you're with a woman who hits you, you are an abuse victim.
Yeah,
and there are ways to get help. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let society shame you into thinking that men can't be abused because I've been told that before.
Yeah, you don't need to be ashamed of asking for help.
No. But I've been told that, oh no, men can't be abused. Yes, you can.
Anybody can be.
Anybody can be a victim of abuse. So, you need to prepare for these disagreements, though. And you also need to prepare for how, and when you do argue, because you're going to. Anyone who sits there and tells you, oh, me and my spouse never have problems, you're a liar.
Just because you can navigate through these problems in marriage counseling
doesn't mean you don't have them.
Does not mean you are not going to have problems afterwards.
But I'll tell you this, when you are having issues, don't say something hurtful just to hurt the other person.
No.
Destiny and I, we've had our issues.
Yeah.
But we never say anything nasty to each other.
No.
I've thought some nasty things. Oh, did I not tell you that?
No.
That's okay, you didn't need to know that.
No.
I'm sure you thought some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Some nasty stuff that you wanted to say. But then you didn't say it.
At the same time, you need to keep those thoughts to yourself.
Well, because at the end of the day, this is someone you're supposed to love.
You still love the person.
I hope you do.
You gotta remember that.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Having these.
And that's another point. When you're in a marriage, you're not in competition with each other. You're not. Destiny and... Just because Destiny succeeds at something doesn't mean I fail.
No.
When she succeeds, I succeed. When I succeed, she succeeds. We work together. We're partners. The Bible says that a man shall be joined to his wife and they shall be one flesh. And that's what it is. We are one person in this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
We still have our
own
likes and dislikes and stuff. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying... Because I wanted to say this also, don't change because someone else wants you to, unless it's a bad habit.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, if you're dating someone who wants you to become a cat person even though you're a dog person, don't change for that person.
Yeah.
Or if you're dating someone who wants you to become a vegetarian because they are, or wants you to stop being a vegetarian because they aren't, whatever. Don't change for other people.
You weren't initially a cat person.
No, I wasn't. I've always had dogs, but
Yeah.
I will say, I joked about not liking cats, but I didn't actually have a problem with cats. I just joked about them because I always said that cats are nature's jerks.
Yeah, sometimes
It's
they
true.
are. Tessa.
I was more thinking of Ezra and Slater,
Well, yeah, but
and in your case, Tonks.
and also, oh yeah, she hated me. I guess also, if you're having a disagreement, I mean, no, screaming it's not gonna help.
No.
Hitting is not gonna help.
No.
The best thing to do in that situation, sometimes you just need to walk away from each other for a couple hours.
That's what we do. Whenever we're having disagreements, Des and I, we walk away from each other for a few hours.
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, we're having this problem right now. I'll go out to the living room and sit for a little while and think. You go wherever you want to go in the house and think. Not to say that she can't go wherever she wants and I can't go wherever I want. She doesn't kick me out of the room. Don't do that also. Don't be one of those people that makes women, don't make your husband sleep on the couch because you're mad at him.
No.
That's petty.
I'll joke with him sometimes.
She jokes with me, but she's never actually
I'm
going
not
to
gonna kick him out onto the
No,
couch.
the only time I'm ever going to sleep on the couch is if I'm sick.
Yeah.
And
you don't
that's
want to get the baby
I don't want to
sick
get the
and
baby
stuff.
sick.
But yeah.
And do not threaten your spouse with divorce. To win an argument. That's not funny. I've seen it where I remember watching a movie as a kid and the husband, there was a husband, he was complaining about all the different houses they went to look at and his wife was like, oh, would you like a divorce instead?
Dang.
That's not funny.
Yeah, no.
I know it was just meant to be a joke in a movie and stuff, but in all seriousness,
Still not
it's
funny.
not okay to threaten your spouse with divorce just to win an argument.
No.
And again, disagreements and stuff, they're gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're gonna have moments where you disagree. For instance, Destiny here likes to ruin coffee by adding pumpkin spice to it.
It's good.
No, it's not.
Actually, I drink it more in milk.
Yeah, this woman makes me ruin milk by putting pumpkin spice flavoring in the milk.
He's just lucky that it's a seasonal thing.
I am very happy about that fact. Now I wish it was a nothing.
My pumpkin.
Yeah, well, you can keep your nasty pumpkin as long as you stay away from my candy corn.
Fine.
Why are we talking about Halloween stuff in April?
I don't know.
But my point is, you're going to have small disagreements and stuff, and those really don't matter.
No.
But, when it comes to the serious stuff, don't be bringing other people into it. Keep it between you. Whenever me and Destiny have had issues, there have been times where we've had issues and nobody knows because we keep it to ourselves.
Yep.
We discuss it with each other, and that's how it goes. Because at the end of the day, we still love each other.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens, we still love each other. We still care about each other.
I mean, and yeah, we all need somebody to vent to sometimes.
Yeah,
But
I know.
constantly,
And sometimes I feel like God gets pretty annoyed with me venting. No,
he wants you to explain it.
he wants me to explain. I know. I'm just trying to be funny.
But yeah, don't have this mindset that it's a perfect marriage. Nobody has a perfect marriage.
A perfect marriage? Well, no. People do have a perfect marriage. A perfect marriage is where you can communicate, even when you disagree, you can still work through it.
I mean,
That's a perfect marriage.
I mean, with no.
No, I know what you mean. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying what I believe a perfect marriage actually is, and I believe I've just described it.
Yeah.
So yeah, disagreements, they're gonna happen. Don't pretend they ain't. Prepare for them. Prepare before you get married. Have these conversations. For instance, if you're the kind of person you need time to cool off before you can have a discussion, tell that men, if you need time to cool off before you have a serious discussion with your wife where you disagree, tell her that before you actually have the disagreement.
Yeah.
Don't try to say it during, because then she might think that you're just trying to dodge the conversation. All right. I think we talked enough about that one, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Don't let someone disrespect your spouse. I see this a lot. I've seen it where you'll have men who they'll make fun of one of their friends' wives, or you'll have women, they'll make fun of one of their friends' husbands, or they'll let a family member disrespect their spouse. Like, sometimes you have this, it's played for laughs in cartoons and stuff where the mother-in-law doesn't like her son-in-law
Yeah.
and stuff. But in all seriousness, no. Do not let someone come into your home and disrespect your spouse. Don't let them stand there and insult your spouse while you just stand there and watch, because they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
They're going to remember that you didn't have their back. And no one's going to come into my house and disrespect Destiny. That's just a fact. I don't care who you
Same.
are. You could be my best friend. You could be my brother, my sister, my mother, my father. I don't care who you are. You're not going to come into my house and disrespect my wife.
Yeah. I'm a lenient person, but that ain't gonna fly in my house.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that is my wife. And that kind of goes back to also our point about not bringing other people into your arguments. Because if they know that you two are arguing, they may bring something like that up later on.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, that one's pretty short, but yeah, don't let someone, if you have to cut ties with someone because they're being disrespectful to your spouse, it doesn't matter who they are. If they're being disrespectful to your spouse and you have to cut those ties, cut those ties. Now, be careful. Don't end up with someone who wants to isolate you. You do need to know the difference. Again, I'm not a professional in that area. I don't want to sit here and give you advice like I am.
Yeah.
If you're with a person who doesn't want you to talk to your family for one reason or another, that's a different matter altogether.
Yeah.
But if it's someone who just is disrespectful to your spouse, then they don't need to be around you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Destiny is my wife, and it doesn't matter how long I've been friends with someone. If they can't respect Destiny, then they don't need to be in my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're related to me. If they can't respect Destiny, then they're not part of my life.
I had to cut someone out recently because they disrespected both me and him. That's another story for another time.
Another story for another. Well, actually, it's a story for never, because that's private.
Oh yeah, but
But yeah, don't let someone disrespect your spouse.
yeah.
And the other thing is also, you got to remember, especially if you have kids, because that is not only is that, like, again, going back to the whole stuff we see in movies and shows and stuff, and I'm sure it happens in real life as well, where you got the girl's parents who don't like the son-in-law.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's your daughter's husband and the father of your grandchildren.
Yeah.
So, stand up for your spouse. Doesn't matter if it's in private or in public. If someone's making fun of them or giving them a hard time or attacking them where they feel insecure, because I want to say this, men, it's okay for you to feel emotions, I promise.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't believe in this whole, men shouldn't cry.
I know society tells us that we have to be stoic all the time, but you know what? The best example of a man was Jesus Christ, and John 11:35, Jesus wept. So if Jesus can cry in public, then there's no reason why you can't.
Yeah.
All right, ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Point number 9, prepare for the long run. Let me tell you this right now. You should not go into a marriage thinking that it's going to fail or thinking, oh, what do I do if we divorce? No, you need to prepare for the long run. We live in a society these days where people are so quick to get out of their marriages. Oh, I can do better. Or, oh, that person's boring. Or, oh, we fell out of love. No, you don't fall out of love. You don't fall out of love.
There's gonna be dull moments. There's gonna be those moments in your marriage where you're kind of just like
bored. Or where you two are so comfortable with each other that it feels like all the excitement's gone. The excitement's gonna fade.
Yeah.
It's going to.
It's gonna come and go.
Just like appearance, it comes and goes. There's gonna come a day when Destiny's beautiful brown hair is gonna turn gray or white.
I mean, yeah, exciting moments. It's not just the marriage part. We're having a baby.
Yeah. There's gonna come a day when my hair's gonna fall out.
Yeah.
It's already working on that. I'm only 26 and I'm already losing my hair. Thanks, genetics.
We're gonna have to prepare for stuff like this.
Yes, because at the end of the day, again, coming from a Christian perspective, marriage is meant to be a permanent union between one man and one woman in the eyes of God. Now, Jesus does say that in certain situations, divorce is allowed in cases of infidelity and I'm sure abuse.
Yeah.
Well, not I'm sure, I know it is. Like, abuse is also grounds for divorce, of course.
Yeah.
But I will say also, even in, you should always work to try and fix things if at all possible.
Yeah.
Marriage it's special. And if you can just move on and say, oh, well, I fell out of love with this person, so I'm divorcing them now.
Yep, on to the next person.
Well, then you didn't truly love them to begin with.
No.
Unless they did something horrific, like cheat on you or abuse you,
Then don't.
that's grounds for leaving.
Yeah.
Obviously. But if it's just, oh, well, the excitement isn't there anymore, well, then you didn't love them.
Okay, well, sometimes it's just not gonna be.
No. Sometimes Destiny and I aren't going to do the fun stuff we did before. Sometimes we're just going to be here and watch a movie.
I don't really know what. I mean, that's kind of our fun stuff anyway.
That's true. That's true.
We don't really.
Well, you won't let me do some of the fun stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to get in a giant tire and roll down a hill, but she won't let me.
Nope.
I want to juggle fire, but she won't let me. I'm sorry.
Wow.
But the fact of the matter is, you're in it for the long run.
Yeah.
When you take vows, part of your vows is till death do us part.
Yeah.
Not till I get bored or someone better comes along.
No one takes that seriously anymore.
Well, some people do, but not a lot do. The truth is, your vows should mean something to you.
Yeah.
When you promise the things that you promise, like you promise to be with them in sickness and in health, for instance.
Yeah.
That means you don't leave just because they get sick.
Yeah, that's very scummy.
It's gonna be hard. It's going to be. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend and tell you guys that marriage is always gonna be sunshine and unicorns.
No, it's not.
There's gonna be mornings where it's gonna be rough, especially again, preparing because we're having a baby.
Yeah.
There's gonna be mornings where I'm just gonna wake up and just be like, ugh.
Yep.
There's gonna be moments where Destiny is just gonna wake up and be like, ugh.
I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the night and be cranky.
Yeah. But that does not give you grounds to step out of your marriage and be like, oh, well, this person didn't get me anymore, or they weren't meeting my needs. Then talk.
Okay, then
communicate. That's an important thing also. Communication is essential in marriage.
Yeah.
But you need to prepare for the long haul. And if you're not prepared for the long run, then you shouldn't get married.
No.
That's the truth. If you're sitting there thinking, can I work things out with this person if we start to fight, or if we disagree, or when all the quote unquote fun fades away, am I going to want to leave? Then you shouldn't get married in the first place.
Yeah. And yeah, sometimes you're gonna have your doubts about your, not doubts, but just
doubts is appropriate. Yeah. You're gonna have doubts before you get married.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
It's scary.
I'm sure Des had them.
It's scary.
I had them.
Yeah.
I had moments I was like, is this really, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
Am I ready for this? Is she ready? Are we really going to be okay?
Thing is,
those are fine to have.
This is stuff that no matter how prepared you are for this, some of this stuff, you're going to be as ready as you're going to be.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to hit the ground running.
Yep.
Again, going back to the whole us having a child thing,
yeah.
We can read all the parenting books we want. We can watch all the videos we want. We can
take all the parenting classes.
Yeah, we can ask all the parents we know for advice. But when Trinity comes out and she comes into this world, there's just going to be days where we're just going to have to grab hold and wait for the ride. But you know what? We're prepared for that. When I married Destiny, when we got married, I made a vow that I was committed to her, and I am committed to that vow. I'm going to keep that vow. I'm going to forsake all others for her, and I will. And if that means a certain lifestyle has to end, or certain things you do have to stop, you can't be going out to parties.
Mm-mm.
You can't be acting like a single person when you're married.
No.
Your life as you know it as a single person does end when you get married. Now, does that mean you can't have fun and you can't have hobbies? No. But it does mean, for instance, if my friends wanted to invite me somewhere, they better be extending an invitation to Destiny too.
Yeah.
Of course, that goes back to the whole don't let someone disrespect your spouse.
Yeah.
Now, there are hobbies that I have that Des doesn't like. I like to go camping. I like to go hiking.
Yeah, I'm not an outdoor. I like skiing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
But, I don't do that stuff as much anymore because I'm a married man. I've got a wife at home, a pregnant wife now, too.
yeah.
There are things I'm giving up now for my pregnant wife because as a man...
Okay, well, I mean, you don't have to necessarily give them up.
Well, I have to put them on
completely.
hold. Like, for instance, I'm not going to go to men's camp this year.
Yeah.
Our church does men's camp. I'm not going because that'll be just a few weeks after my daughter is born.
Yeah, a month or two.
Yeah.
But
And I need to be with my daughter
no,
and my wife.
that whole message or that whole idea of you can't have fun when you're married.
That's not true.
It's not
You
true.
can.
There's other ways of having fun
But-
besides going out and drinking and
Partying and
yeah.
nonsense like that.
Yeah, we watch movies.
We watch movies together. We play games. We play cards.
Yeah.
And we have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We do group calls with our friends, and sometimes we go to places like we went and watched a WWE event last year for
Yeah.
Destiny's birthday. That was loud, by the way.
This other one. Yeah, I didn't like the pyro.
It heard, okay? I wasn't prepared for it. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. But yeah. So when you're in a marriage, you're in it for the long haul. You better be. You're in it for the long run, and you need to prepare for that. If you're not ready for it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
If you have doubts, that's fine. Doubts are understandable. Everybody has them. But if you're genuinely sitting there planning like, oh, I gotta have an exit strategy, no. And that's the thing. Be prepared to be united with this person.
Yeah.
When me and Des, even though we have separate bank accounts, for instance, it's not my money versus her money. It's not just one of our homes. It's both. It's our house. It's our home. They're our pets. They're our children. It's our money. Like, yeah, it's in different accounts.
We have different accounts.
But, she helps me when I need it. I help her when she needs it.
Yeah.
I tease her about, like, oh, your cat misbehaves.
We'll go. I mean, yeah, she's
But,
was my cat before.
yeah, but
Yeah.
she's our cat.
Yeah.
Both of them are our
Ezra
cats.
was my cat too.
Yeah. You're united with that person. And if you can't bear that, if you can't accept that, hey, I'm bound to this person now, we're one person, we're united together. If you can't accept that, then you're not ready to get married.
Yeah, like we kind of go Dutch on everything, most things.
Every time you say that, I think of Dutch apple pie.
It's probably the best thing. Well, I'm not telling y'all what to do, but
No, but we're united. And we also don't keep tally of, like, everything having to be split exactly evenly. There are sometimes, like, we'll tease each other about it. Like, I tease her saying, oh, since I clean the litter box all the time, you have to change all the diapers.
yeah.
But I'm not actually going to make her do that.
I
You know,
change diapers, I'll clean when.
we're going to split the work, and we split everything, because if one of us fails, we both fail.
Yeah.
If one of us succeeds, we both succeed. It's not a competition. I'm not competing with Destiny.
Yeah.
And that leads to the final piece of advice, which kind of includes everything we've already said, but I want to go even further. Model your marriage after the Bible. What does that mean? Well, the Bible talks about marriage almost from page 1 all the way through. Our relationship with Jesus is compared to a marriage. Why? Because a marriage is a great comparison. When you get married, you should model your relationship. You should model your marriage after what the Bible says. What that means is, like, for instance, the Bible says for men to love their wives as Christ loved the church. That means as a man, I need to be ready to die for my wife.
Yeah.
The Bible says for wives to submit to their husbands as the church submits to God. What that means is Destiny follows my leadership, and she supports me when I make a decision. That doesn't mean Destiny does whatever I say. Oh, Ezra sneezed.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that Destiny doesn't have a say in the matter. It doesn't mean that Destiny just does whatever I say. No, absolutely
we
not.
talk about decisions.
There are people who misunderstand or misuse that verse and say, "Oh, the Bible says that women don't have a say." No, that's not true at all. What it's saying is that we need to have a relationship and unity where one of us takes the lead, the other will follow, but we work together to make things happen.
And don't, not think about the decision like the other person.
No.
You need to have conversations with the other person before
for instance,
decide.
if a man decides that, oh, I'm going to make all the decisions because the Bible says for my wife to submit to me, well, guess what? You haven't loved her just like Jesus loved the church, because Jesus talked with his followers.
Yeah.
He lovingly explained things to them. He didn't just say, I'm Jesus, do what I say.
No.
Now,
That's not how you do things.
of course, he is Jesus, so we should do what he says.
Well, yeah, but he
he talked with people. He didn't just come in flaunting his authority. God even says in Isaiah, let us reason together. God invites you to talk with him, to understand what he's doing and why he's doing things.
Yeah.
God doesn't just flaunt his power and say, I'm God, do what I say. Now, yes, God knows what's best, but he explains it to you. He doesn't expect you to just believe it on blind faith. He gives you reasons to trust him. And so, as a husband, my job is to protect my wife, be the spiritual leader in our household. It's my job to make sure my kids come to know God. And it's Destiny's job as well.
Yeah.
But it's my job as the father to model how God is to us. Excuse me. So, model your marriage after what the Bible says, and you will succeed in your marriage.
Yeah.
Is that everything you want to say? You want to add anything? I know I kind of talked a lot more than you did, didn't I? I guess this is my channel. When I'm on your channel, you talk more.
Yeah. I guess we covered everything, yeah.
So, yeah. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you have some questions you'd like to ask that you want me and Destiny to come on here and answer later, leave them in the comments section.
Yeah.
Of course, if you'd like to donate to our baby registry, I will leave a link in the description, so please go and check that out. If you aren't able to donate, that's perfectly fine. Please don't make yourself if you can't.
Yeah.
Just pray for us then.
Yeah.
Well, pray for us regardless, but say 2 prayers if you can't.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it with your friends, family, loved ones, and enemies, especially if you know someone who is either planning to get married, is engaged, is in the early stages of a marriage, or wants to get married one day.
Yeah.
And, you got anything else you want to say?
I'm good.
All right, well, have a great day. God bless you.